You can't just care about swimming once every 4 years.
So this craziness that's turned swimming upside down right now with our, the pandemic that's going on right now, how's that changed your life?
Oh yeah. I mean, basically the same as everyone else's. I mean, I I think I've been out of the water 11 weeks fully. I mean, I've done some pond swimming a little bit here and there, but I haven't really been in a pool in about 10 or 11 weeks. So I've gone fully dry land training. Started doing a bit more running. I've been doing a lot of CrossFit workouts, which is a bit of a change, and I've really enjoyed the variety. Swimming can get pretty monotonous, and as much as I do it, I hate looking at the black line every day, in and out, 2 practices a day. So doing something different's been really good for the mental health during this quarantine.
So you do a lot of dry land training. What is something different that you do that you wouldn't normally do as far as your training goes at this point?
Well, mostly I would only do 3 lifts per week, and now I'm doing 8 or 9. And they're not just lifts, but they're like, for example, rowing on the rowing erg machine, assault bike, assault runner. I would have never done that before until this. And there's also a ski erg where you pull down with your lats. I've done that. That was the first time I had done that recently. Things like that. Yeah.
So you and your teammates, a lot of pros, people that you've been training with for how many years in Indiana swimming, University of Indiana and Indiana swimming. How have you guys all adjusted to this support-wise? I mean, do you guys all get together and you talk about, stay in touch with each other? How do you guys overcome the getting knocked off your feet as far as the direction to the Olympic trials?
It depends. I would say it's difficult. It's more difficult for some than others. We have kind of been our own bubble because we're working out with each other about almost every day. So as long as none of us go outside of each other, or interact with any new people, we think we'll be all right. But really, don't really do a whole much, or don't really do a whole lot. Just like no one else is swimming right now. There's a few of us that are driving quite a ways that have access to a 1-lane pool somewhere, but yeah, just a lot of dry land.
So it's affected all of us the same way, it sounds like.
Basically.
So you grew up in Indiana, and I was chatting back and forth with Coach Kevin Kinnell. He said that when you were 11, 12, you're one of the few young kids that had the confidence to say you wanted to go to the Olympic Games. So where did that confidence come from at age 11, 12?
I don't know. I didn't know that I was one of the only ones. I think going to the Olympic Games is kind of a dream of every young kid. You see Olympians, you see the media, the event, and that's what you want to do. You want to be an Olympian, and once you do it, no one can ever take that away from you.
So what was it like growing up as an age group swimmer in Indiana? You came from obviously up there in Chesterton and swam for Duneland. What was it like being an age group state, for an example? What was it like there?
It was great. Every level, the championship meet at every level is kind of, they're different, they're more intense, but then again, they're all the same because you're at this level in your mind and you're, all right, I'm at age group state. This is like the pinnacle right now. And then, you go into high school and you're like, whoa, high school state, that's scary, but then you get adjusted to it and you're like, maybe sophomore, junior year, you're like, all right, high school state, the biggest meet that I'm at right now. But, I've done this before in the same headspace when I was just younger. It's just faster, and then you get into college and then, Olympic trials and everything like that. So
growing up, what were some of the favorite sets that you swam as an age group or high school or in college? What were some of the sets you swam?
Some of my all-time favorite sets, regardless of what they were, are, you could call it kind of a strict descend. So it's a descend, but you can't start just at warm-up pace. You got to start at somewhat of a stiff pace, and then you descend from there. But with Jim Voss, we'd do like a lot of 300s. I remember we did not my favorite set, but I remember doing like 9 500s, descend 1 to 3, 4 to 7, or whatever. And that was pretty tough. We did that kind of regularly. But actually, probably one of my favorite sets are always lactate sets. Broken sets off the blocks. In high school, we always did, or maybe not always, but frequently we did two 200s broken at the 50s off the blocks, and one would be stroke, one would be freestyle. Maybe broken for like 15 seconds at the 50s.
So when you were growing up, obviously, when you got to high school, you swam the 200 IM, you swam the 200 free. Did you swim the 500 one year as well?
My freshman year, yeah.
Freshman year. So how did you feel you were so prepared to swim all events and all distances? I mean, what was your training like to help you there?
I don't know. I never really had a mindset that I can only swim 100 or whatever. I just like to swim, and, you know, whatever event I was good at. I don't know if I was really prepared or not prepared. I mean, we did a lot of yards, you know, so it wasn't like I was scared of a 500 freestyle. I just had the mentality that, you know, whatever it is, I want to go best time. I want to drop a lot of time. I want to place as high as I can.
So balance obviously is something interesting, but from what coaches were telling me, you really loved being on relays, and you always set goals for the relays. Tell us about that.
I don't think I've ever met anyone that has liked relays less than their individuals, but yeah, I love relays. I mean, one of my all-time favorite swimming moments is in ShortCourse Worlds in 2018 in China, where we broke the world record in the 400 free relay, and I did it with like 3 of my other best friends. And it was like a really close race between us and Russia. And I mean, breaking a world record with 3 of your other best friends is like one of the coolest things ever. So doing it on a relay.
Who are those 3 best friends?
They were, so Caleb led off, Caleb Dressel, and then Michael Chadwick, me, and Ryan Held.
Wow. Yeah. That had to be pretty amazing. And you also set some national records in high school on relays as well, right?
Yep. 400 free relay. I don't know if we got the medley. I don't think so, but we got the state record at the time. I think it's gotten a lot faster, but I think we were definitely the first in Indiana to go under 3. Do we still have that one in the 4? I don't remember.
I'm not sure. I think that may have been broken since, but it was pretty amazing when you did it. I remember that one. So one of the fondest moments I had of you is you were actually the captain of the national junior team, weren't you?
Yeah, in our trip to Maui, Hawaii.
Oh, that had to be a tough trip. So tell us a little bit about the Team USA culture and what you learned from being on Team USA.
It's really, like, when people ask me this question, it's hard to explain it because it's really easy, because almost all of the people there, we've gone to meets together, or we've raced against each other basically our whole lives growing up. So we weren't on the best, you know, we don't know everything about each other, but we have seen everyone before, you know, we know their names, you know, kind of where they swim from. And so my favorite part is like getting to know all these people better that I've seen my whole life, you know, getting to know them better. And I mean, on that trip, actually, on the 400 it was the 800 freestyle relay. We had three of those 4 legs were the same relay at Worlds this past year in 2019. It was me, Andrew Seliskar, and Townley Haas. The 3 of us were also on that relay at Junior Pan Pacs in 2018, or in 2014. And then at Worlds, it was us 3 and then Zach Apple.
So it really is. They show that progression of being on national junior team and then onto the national team.
Yeah, and like we've gone to meets, you know, against each other. It's cool because you go to meets with each other, like say Junior Pan Pacs, Junior Worlds, and then you go to college and probably, you know, you don't go to the same school, but, you know, you race each other at conference meets, NCAAs, you know, and then, you know, eventually you race again on the national team.
So when did, you know, swimming in college, obviously being a student athlete, I know you were always a great student in high school. What was it like being a student athlete in college?
Oh, like high school is easy. Like high school is so easy compared to college. And I think it's partially just not having your parents there. No one is going to say, all right, it is 6:30. You're going to do homework for 3 hours. You'd be like, no, I don't want to. I don't have to, you know, but like you need to, because you need to go to bed by 9. And that's what is going to give you the best practice the next day. So it's really this you have to have this like internal motivation to do the right things. And that can be really hard. My freshman year was really hard. I mean, I was going to sleep at like 2 a.m. some days. And it wasn't because I was studying. I was just doing whatever. And I just, was just living free, doing whatever I wanted to, screwing around. And then I was dead at practice the next morning. And so don't think that it was, I popped into college freshman year and I was already amazing at, time management or had any kind of perfect schedule. And I had 15 minutes here that were dedicated to meditation or anything like that. Definitely a learning process for me.
So when you were being recruited and what, obviously you've helped athletes be recruited at IU. So what advice would you have for kids being recruited today that don't get to visit college campuses like you did?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say do the research, get to know the head coach, the assistant coaches, kind of the campus, kind of write down the things that are a must for you in terms of the school. Say they obviously have to have the major that I want, right? That kind of narrows it down. They have to be top 15 in the country in division 1 swimming or whatever, and then write that one down. And you got to start to narrow your range of schools that you want to look at. And then you have to decide, do I want to be close from home? Do I want to be far away? Do I want to be able to come home for a lot of holidays, driving distance? All that stuff is it's so dependent on the person. It's really individualized.
So when you were being recruited, I mean, what were some of the schools you were being recruited by, and what was the decision-making factor to go to IU?
It's funny because I never planned on going to IU at the beginning. So maybe that's bad advice that I gave you, but I wanted to go far away. Like I had always lived in Indiana and I wanted to maybe go to like the West Coast or somewhere else, but Arizona, U of A at the time was a good school. And I was looking at them pretty heavily. Wisconsin, I really liked Wisconsin. Let's see, where else did I take my trips? I wanted to take, I think I took an unofficial to Auburn, but I didn't take an official. And my parents were like, why not go down to IU? It's, it's a 3-hour drive, can't hurt. And then I was like, oh, whatever. And I drove down by myself. And then I just knew like the day after my trip, I was like, it's not even close. Like I'm going to IU. So it's really, I don't know. It's just for me in my decision, and this is not going to be for everyone else. The choice was so easy because I love the team. I love the campus, everything about Bloomington. I loved it so much that it was really an easy decision for me. I also saw that I thought the team was going to go in an upward projection of like where they were in terms of NCAA placing. And I wanted to be part of a team that was going upward, kind of improvement in their program. I didn't want to go to a team that was just going to go to a downward spiral and go from, 8th in the country to 30th or something like that.
So one of the, and just my perspective, I don't know if this is your favorite race or not, but your 200 freestyle, when you went under 130 in the 200-yard freestyle. So, I mean, obviously, take us through that race. How did you prepare for a race to go 129, or it was 129, right?
Yeah, 129.63.
So,
it started my junior year. After I let off the 800 free relay and 130.8 my junior year, going 129 was like all that I thought about for a full year. I just wanted to go 129. And I was like, I only have to drop 0.9 of a second. And I was like, at the time, it's like not that much, but at the time, no one had ever gone under 130. And I think there was only two people that had been 130. I think it was me and Townley, maybe 3 people. It was me and Townley and Dylan Carter. And it was really the only goal that the big goal that I had that whole year. And I don't know, I love it too free. I love it, in yards, short course, and long course. And yeah, it was a crazy race.
So what was your race strategy?
So the 2 free for me is basically go out as hard as fast as you can, but as easy as you can. So I flipped in 43.4, I think, at the 100. And you want to do that. You want to flip in this time, but flipping it with it taking the least amount of energy out of you. I think that's what I like about the 200 is like, yeah, sure, be first at the 200, but like you have to gauge the level of drain that you have going on in your body. because yeah, you can flip in 42.9 and then just, you know, eat crap on the next lap and, you know, the race is done. But going out fast and going out easy is one of the best things that I like about the 200. So I think I did that. My splits were pretty on point. I think it was 22.6 on the second 50, 22.9, and 23.1. I tell people that in college, the 200 free is kind of a controlled die. You are hurting a lot on the last 50, basically dying, because if you think about it, your last 50 is going to a hand touch versus the other 50s have gone to a foot touch. So while the last 50 is slower, you know, in terms of the third 50 versus the fourth 50, it's actually even slower than that, because imagine going to a foot on your last 50. You would add like another half second. So you're really, really hurting on the last 50, but that's the way I think it needs to be swum in college.
So what were some of the things that you worked on in college to help refine your 100 free, your 200 free, the, you know, what the underwater works, the turns? I mean, what were the things that you specifically worked on to refine your skills?
Yeah, I think turns have always been somewhat of a weak point in my swimming. Turns and underwater have always been something that I've really needed to work on, and we did improve a lot that year. And then the other thing was efficiency. Just like I said, going out fast, but going out easy. I mean, if you could do that, you know, the easy speed is where it's all at. Just go out fast and easy, and you'll do well in every race if you can do that. It's not always that easy to do though. But other things I worked on were just kind of staying more calm in the beginning of the races, because I was always a person that I wanted to be in front from the beginning, you know, and that basically happened in the race. But I don't like being around people while I'm swimming. I like to be able to see and kind of out front, and just being okay being with the pack in the beginning. It was, you know, a mental thing that I had to do.
What's the difference between your long course racing and your short course racing, or the commonalities between the two?
Yeah, it's so different actually, and I feel like it's gotten more different the older that I've gotten. But long course is just efficiency, efficiency, efficiency. If you can be a great puller in long course, it'll help you so much. Short course is, like you said, a lot of turns, underwater starts, you know, that kind of thing. And you can kind of scramble a little bit more in short course, but you can't hide in long course. You better be able to have an aerobic base, and you better be able to, you know, swim efficiently in long course.
Okay, 3 questions.
Yeah.
Favorite meet, favorite pool, favorite medal?
Favorite meet, probably, favorite meet's a tough one. Let me come back to that. What was the second question? Favorite pool?
Favorite pool.
Oh yeah, the Indy pool is my favorite pool.
The
I've had more, the Nat. I've had more best times in that pool than any other pool in the world. I grew up swimming in that pool, and, you know, age group state, zone meets, all kinds of mega zones. What year was that? I don't know, 2008? I don't remember. I went to mega zones there. And favorite medal. I mean, it has to be the Olympic gold medal. Yeah.
That's cool. You don't have that sitting there with you, do you?
No, I don't. It's kind of tucked away right now.
That's okay.
Yeah.
We always get that question if you have your medals. But favorite meet, you've gotten to travel throughout the world. I mean,
there's
what's some of the cool places?
Maui was definitely cool, just because the vibe on that trip was, I don't know, it was just chill. Everyone was having a good time. No one was stressed out. You know, it wasn't the toughest meet in the world in terms of the competition. But 2017 Worlds was pretty amazing, because that was like, that was my first meet where I got to swim an individual on the national team. And also being in Budapest was it was so cool. And that pool is exceptional. I love it's called the Duna Arena, that pool there. And they packed it. They actually built more stands inside the stadium than they originally had. I think it was 18,000 that they had at one point.
Wow.
And when the Hungarians came out, it was so loud. And that was a really, really cool meet. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, that was one of the best world championships that Team USA had ever had. And I think we had some like 50 medals or something.
So when you were at the Olympic trials, you know, we had a camp out there back in 16, and they got a tour. Take everybody on this call kind of through what the back pool is like and how you had to come up the stairs and sit in the ready room and before you went out. And what was it like coming out in front of the crowd?
Yeah. So, 2016 was my first Olympic trials. I didn't have a trial cut in 12. And so I had never been. And I had watched it, but you don't get to see anything from just watching the pool. But behind the competition pool, there is a warm-up pool, and it's probably 12, and it's a Murtha pool. It's, a temporary pool. It's probably 12 lanes of 50 meter, and then 6 lanes of 25 meter that are all together. Like, it's not separate pools. They're just next to each other, and you can swim, between them. And then it's just stance, basically. Giant kind of built up area. And I think it's in a gymnasium. It's just a giant gymnasium. And they have the scoreboard, like they're filming the races from the other room, and you can see them while you're sitting there. So you can watch all the races, which is really cool. But yeah, so you warm up, and then you go down a flight of stairs, and then you come around through this big archway, and you go up into the first ready room's on the ground. So you go into the first ready room, and that's, they say, check your cap, goggles, and everything. And then you go into the second ready room, which is basically on the level of the walkout, like where you walk out from. And then after that, you walk out, and I describe Olympic trials as like a boxing ring. The pool is so lit up. It's so white and crisp and clear, and the stands are so dark. It's really dark in the stands. So you can't really see too well, but it's just like a boxing ring. And at least that's how it felt too. People ask if I was nervous for the Olympics, but I was far more nervous for Olympic trials than I was for the Olympics.
Yeah, that's an amazing recap of what it was like. So when you were preparing for this year, do you think that experience helped you preparing for the 2020 or 21 Olympic trials? Do you think that experience has helped you grow and be more prepared?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. The more meets that you can go to in general, I think help you with experience across anything. Absolutely. Junior Worlds in 2013 and Junior Pan Packs in 2014 helped me for Olympics, Olympic trials, meets from there on out. Because I remember one of my biggest problems or things that I thought when I was on these meets as a younger lad is that I had to pull out some like insane swim. I had to drop like 3 seconds in the 100 free, and I'd prove my country proud. But it's not true. Like you qualified for that trip. You just have to like either drop a 10th or like re-go your time, and that'll get you a medal, because it's so competitive to make these teams for the US that if you re-go your time, Olympic trials, for example, if you make the Olympics, if you just re-go your time, you're in the final at the Olympics. That's how good the US is at swimming. So it's not, I used to think you had to do some kind of crazy hero swim, but it's not true.
So just something personal about you. What do you do? I read your bio. It talks about some of the hobbies you have. Why don't you tell some of the kids what you do to get away from swimming? So the fun.
Yeah. So, lately, one of my hobbies is I like to play video games. That sounds like the typical, I'm bored, I'm going to go play video games. But I think for an athlete, they're drawn to video games because it's a competitive outlet for them, but it's not physically draining. So you can be competitive, fight people and be with your friends virtually, but you're not draining yourself like you would if you went to go play ultimate frisbee. So like I can swim a morning practice and an afternoon practice and like go play video games with my friends and get that competitive release still, but I'm not killing myself like I'm going to like I said, go play football or something. So I think that's why I think that that's part of the reason that video games are more attractive to athletes.
So what we're going to do now is I'm going to turn the co-hosting duties over to Coach Alec Haley. And Alec's going to go through the chat room with some of our athletes, and he's going to ask you some questions from our athletes. Alec.
Thank you, Tony. Blake, before we get going to get you warmed up here, one of the bigger questions we've seen throughout the weeks of doing this was how you handle failure. And I think the story you have from the 2016 Olympic trials and actually making the team to becoming a Olympic gold medalist it is very intriguing in how you actually handle failure. So could you step us through, you know, what it was like having the 200 free as one of your favorite events to actually, you know, getting onto the team on that 400 free relay?
Yeah, it's hard. I don't know. Like after something like that, even before, I just tell myself, like, it sounds silly, but it's just swimming, you know, like you're not going to die. People aren't going to hate you, you know, and you know, your family will still love you. You can still have next season, you know, there are still more chances out there. So I think changing your perspective, I think, is super important after a failure. And yeah, like you said, at that trials, not making it in the 200 free, I was definitely upset, and it was a huge failure for me. But I'm a pretty practical person, or at least I like to think. So I was like, okay, like I'm really upset and mad about this 200. But I still have the 100 free left. But if I'm in this kind of mindset right now, I mean, my 100 free is just going to go to crap. Like I'm going to add a bunch of time. So what's the point of me being in this mindset? I'm just going to hurt myself, you know, in the next event. So might as well go in with a clean slate and an open mind and just try my best, because there's no sense in letting one event ruin the rest of the, you know, rest of my first Olympic trials. And I did that, and then I went 3 best times: prelims, semis, and finals.
Yeah, Blake, I know if people in the room don't know, you were seated 55th in that 100 free, and then ended up getting into semis, and then just trying to get into finals, and then from finals, I believe you're an outside lane. Could you step us through that final swim that actually got you on the team?
Yeah, I definitely wasn't seated under 50th, in the 100 at least. But yeah, I swam the first prelims, and I think my best time at the time was like 49.6, something like that. And then I went 49.3 in prelims, and I think I made the semi. And then I went 49.0 and I think it was 7th. And I was like, whoa, I just made it into the final. I have to beat 2 people and I'm on an Olympic team. You know, it's the luxury of being 100 and 200 freestyler. And then I went 48.7 in the final. And I was right next to Anthony Irvin. I was in, I'm pretty sure I was in a fully outside lane. Yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, I mean, I don't remember too much about the swim. It wasn't really any more memorable than another swim, like during the race. Yeah.
We'll get over to a couple of the swimmers' questions now. Looks like there's a young swimmer who swims for Valparaiso Swim Club who swims for your dad, Coach Chris, and wants to know what it was like when you were coached by your dad.
Oh, it was tough. It's tough. Those are the back in the days. No, it was good. It was, I remember having to do a lot of kick, which I'm still, to this day, I'm not very good at kicking. So that was tough, but you know, kicking's super important for you. And I mean, in college, people can whoop my butt and kick, and you know, it's important to develop that really young. So I think that's extremely important. Yeah, I remember just a lot of kick, and it was good. I mean, I think he coached me from 9 to 12, if I'm not sure, something like that. Yeah.
And Blake, we touched on this a little bit before the call. You're doing a lot of pond swimming. Have you ever swam open water?
I've never done a race, like a competition. I mean, I've swam, you know, in ponds, lakes, and the ocean or whatever, but I've never done a race. I don't really want to either. That sounds terrible. Sounds very difficult.
What type of music do you listen to before your races?
So actually, one of the things that I learned at 2016 trials is that I can't really listen to music before a race, and that might be different than most people. But I was listening to music before I walked out for the 200, and I dove, and I was so along with the pressure of being at my first Olympic trials, and I think it was my first race. Yeah, my first race. My heart rate was already like maxed out, and I was getting super pumped up from this music I was listening to. And then I dove in, and my heart rate, it had nowhere to go. It was already peaked. And I found out that I'm already, ready to go without music, unless it's some kind of, super low end dual meet or something that I have trouble getting myself super, in the right mindset for. I don't listen to music.
Riley Blouses wants to know, what was it like swimming with the LA Current, and what you think about your second season in the ISL?
Oh, it was great. I love the ISL, and I love the idea of what it could become, and it's truly professional swimming. And I thought the first season went really well. A lot of people, attended the meets. They were really, really fun. We did well. We got last in the championship, but I mean, we made it. So, and it was great to be a part of the inaugural season and to make it to the first ever championship.
Now, I knew this would come up, but are you a Harry Potter fan?
Oh yeah, big Harry Potter fan. Right now, I'm actually rewatching all of the movies.
And touching a little bit on your video game, what's your favorite video game right now?
Oh man, I grinded Fortnite for far too long. Even when people still say the game's dead, but I played that game like a lot. But I played Rainbow Six Siege for a long time, or not a long time, but I got into Minecraft a while. That's kind of just like a deep dark hole that you can lose yourself in. And Overwatch is one of the games that Zach Apple really likes to play. I played it for a little bit, but mostly Fortnite was like my huge game.
Who was your favorite teammate to swim with on a relay?
Favorite teammate to swim, like in college or in high school or
Anytime.
anytime? Favorite teammate to swim with on a relay. I'll just probably go with the relay that happened at ShortCourse Worlds in 2018. Yeah, any of those guys. I mean, breaking a world record and doing it with your best friends. That was probably one of my favorite relays ever.
Now, this question's come up a lot, but what's been the worst and best part of quarantine for you?
The worst part is that I feel bad when I don't swim mentally. I like to swim, and sometimes I just like to swim long distances and not really stop and think about, too much all the time. And it's kind of meditative in that way. I just, can go out and swim and just, think about whatever. So I don't really have that right now. And I like competing. Obviously if you're a swimmer, you have to like to be competitive and to win and to, push yourself and push your teammates every day. So I don't have that too much, but the best part has been the different dry land that I've been doing. It's been a big change for me in terms of like some gymnastics movements. And like I was talking earlier about the salt bike, the ski, and the row. That variety has been very, very good for me. I've always been, me personally, I hated just swimming straight through seasons with like no meets to break stuff up. And that was just hard because I was like, what am I training? I'm training for something that's like 7 months away right now. And like, there's nothing that I can test, in the middle. So I've always been a person that needs to race a little more frequently. That broke it up. And I think this CrossFit work that I've been doing breaks it up pretty well and adds a lot of variety.
Well, one other question we've gotten a lot is, When did you decide you wanted to be an Olympic swimmer?
Decide?
Yes.
I don't think I ever decided I wanted to be. I mean, I always wanted to be, like, growing up. I mean, it was just like, I swam, so I was, I was a swimmer. So of course I wanted to. I had I had posters of Michael Phelps on my wall from like when I was 10 years old, and then things just started happening, and I made a junior, or actually made a zone team, quads. Are quads still around? Are those still? They still have quad meets? Yeah, quad meets, zones, mega zones. Made like a national select camp, and then I kept going up from there. Made a junior team, and then and then Olympics, and then I got to be on Michael's last Olympic team ever, and someone that I looked up to for since I was like 10 years old. And I was 12 when he won 8 golds in Beijing, and I was just sitting on the carpet, and I was like, it's like crazy, it's dream come true.
Gary wants to know, what was your hardest challenge in becoming an Olympian?
Hardest challenge? I mean, the hardest challenge, I think, in not becoming an Olympian, swimming in general, the hardest challenge is sacrificing a lot of things, because you have to swim a lot. And, if your friends aren't in the sport, it's really tough to maintain those relationships. I know it was really tough in high school and college. I mean, the life of a professional athlete is very different than the life, or any athlete really, Division I high school athlete, very different than, a normal person who just, goes about their regular day to day. It's, I mean, in college, I'm going to sleep at 9:30, and like what regular college kid's going to sleep at 9:30? So that's always been really tough for me. The social aspect, like same thing. What college kids waking up at 5 to go swim? It's only, my only friends were the people on the team, and it was hard for me because I wanted friends outside the team, but it was hard to maintain those relationships. And I think mentally you're tired all the time, especially in college. You're just tired all the time, and you're just kind of become like a zombie, and it's just the grind will get you. So I think the two things in swimming, I mean, not it doesn't matter what level you get to, Olympic or, college, high school. The social aspect of your friends might not, always be there. Like for example, in high school in Dunedin, we live 10 minutes from Lake Michigan. And after, in the summers, some of my high school friends would want to go to the beach after school. And it was like 3:00. We're going to go to the beach. And I was like, oh, I have practice till like 5:30. And they're like, okay. And I was just like, oh, dang, I really want to go to the beach, but I need to practice. So that was always the toughest part for me. That's a good question.
Well, Alyssa Law wants to know, why did you want to become a swimmer?
I don't know if I ever decided my dad swam in college at Purdue, and I've always loved the water, even from an early age, and did a lot of water stuff like jet skiing and kneeboarding and all kinds of stuff growing up. And as I got older, it was just the sport that I was better at than the other sports. So I stuck with it.
Now, you said your dad swam at Purdue. Are there any family fights over which school is better?
Yeah, I was there last weekend, and he has like a Purdue spatula, and I'm like, why do you have this? And yeah, he always wanted me to go to Purdue, and I was like, I think it worked out all right, with me going to IU.
Max and Ariana Bailey want to know, what type of tips would you give these kids for the 200 freestyle?
For yards, or we're talking yards?
Let's do both, long course and short course.
Okay. I mean, like I said earlier, the key to the 200 is going as fast as you can while being as easy as you can, if that makes sense. So anyone can go out fast, right? Anyone can go out close to their best time at the 100. But can you go close to your best time with that being very easy on your body, very not taxing, So tips, I mean, some of the sets, we did so much 200 pace in college, and it was 30 50s on a minute and a half, and it would just be best average, just hold the fastest time that you could. And I always I always wanted to be in the 22s, like 22.7 to 22.9, somewhere in there for 30-50s on 130. I think the better you get at that, the 200 will definitely get a lot easier in yards, at least. Long course is totally different. I feel like the 200 free and long course, you have to be so efficient. I remember trying to do like 200s or 250s, and you have to maintain a stroke count of like 28 strokes per length and still having a fast time. So I don't remember what the times would be, but whatever they were, 28 or 30 strokes per length, but still going reasonably fast was I think it's one of the best things that you can do for a long course do free.
Christian wants to know, like, what's your pre-race exercises, or how do you prepare for a race at a meet?
Prepare for a race. It just depends. I don't have anything that I have to do absolutely the same every time. I don't have to jump on my right foot 3 times and my suit has to be on 7 minutes before I'm in the ready room or anything like that. I just have to be calm, just relax and have a good time. That is basically the only guidelines that I have. It's like, don't get too worked up about anything. Just have a good time.
Brianna Howard wants to know, how do you keep motivated to stay positive when things are getting hard?
Let's say lean on your friends and your teammates. Something that motivates me is just watching my teammates go best times and progress in the sport is one of the things that's super motivating for me. So even if I'm having a bad meet, I'll be like, I'll look over and see what my teammates are doing, and some of them will be doing, amazing. And I, swimming with them all season, I know how hard they've worked and how hard they want to do these things. Vinny Lanza, for example, is a guy I swam with at IU, and he, is an extremely hard worker. And his senior year, he won the 100 fly by hundredths of a second. He went like 44.3 in the 100 butterfly. And I wasn't even swimming at that meet, but like if I was having a bad meet, like how could you be having a bad meet, then watch that race and still be thinking about how bad of a meet you're having, because it was so inspiring. Because, I swam with him all year and I know how much he wanted to win. And, that's what I'd say is look at your teammates and look at how they're doing and cheer them on.
Can you tell us a little bit about like what you eat and drink at a swim meet, Gatorade, water, types of things you're doing to stay fueled during competition?
Yeah, I kind of like Gatorade's okay. Like it has a lot of sugar in it, but I don't know. I basically just drink water. I've been messing around like with some electrolyte powder that I've been using. I don't even know what it's called, but yeah, it's some of that kind of stuff. But basically, in college, I started having to have coffee before a big final swim. I had to have caffeine. That's when the coffee addiction kind of started happening. But in terms of what I eat, there's nothing that I have to eat that's always the same. Before I get asked that a lot, but one of my favorite things to eat is a toasted bagel with peanut butter and banana. That's one of my favorite snacks.
So you're a coffee drinker a little bit. What's your favorite type of coffee?
I have an espresso machine, so I make a lot of cappuccinos and lattes.
Here's a good one from Garrett. Do you have a place you write down your goals?
Yeah, I do. I still write down my goals. I usually just write them down on regular printer paper and, put them up wherever in my house. I have them on my phone. This is another personal thing. Some people, I'm pretty sure Caleb doesn't like to write down his goals because he thinks it limits him in what he's capable of doing. And I like it. So that depends on the person.
So, well, Blake, that's about all the questions we have for you. I'm going to go ahead and turn it back over to Tony Young. Can't tell you how much we appreciate your time and today and answering these questions, and we all wish you the best moving forward.
Oh yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me on.
Blake, a few more questions for you, just from my perspective here in Indiana swimming. You competed on in a lot of the camps programs that we had. And I remember specifically one of the camps that I think it was 2011 up at the Olympic Training Center, and you were sitting in the room, and we had just an amazing group of athletes in Indiana swimming at that time. Many of them were going on to nationals and maybe, NCAAs, whatever the case may be. But some of the national team directors stood up there and said, somebody in this room is going to make the Olympic team. And it turned out to be you and Lily both. So when you're at those camps, what are some of the memories that you have in going to those camps, and which speaker that made an impact on you, or people that not necessarily at a camp, but what teacher or what coach has made an impact on you with something they've said to help in your life, not even in swimming?
Yeah, this is all about, sounds cliche, about believing in yourself. And it's so easy to say and so hard to do. Like, I remember that talk vividly. I remember hearing that, at least. And I remember being like, I think it was a zone select camp. I don't even know if it was an Indiana camp. I don't remember, but yeah, I remember hearing that, and I was like, yeah, right. Okay, I'm 12, I'm not going to the Olympics or whatever, how far away that is, but it's absolutely true. I mean, it's just statistics. We had, such a good group of people there that it was just statistics that someone was going to make it. Yeah, I tell people that all the time. I don't know if there's one person that, kind of helped me more than others. I mean, Matt Grievers has been, a person on the national team that I've looked up to. And I remember asking for his autograph at, I think it was, I don't know, maybe like 2011 World Trials in Indy, I think. I remember like asking for his autograph there. And now he's, a huge mentor to me. And, my high school coach, Kevin Kennel, he'd always push me to kind of, he would push my boundaries of what I was comfortable with, which I think is good. And he would stretch me, and I wanted to swim the 2 free at high school state. And, I did the 2 IM for 3 years. I never swam the 2 free after my freshman year. And, just doing things like that, I learned a lot from him. Yeah.
So to you, what does your next year look like now? Have you given that much thought, or is it just something you're going to take day by day until you see how everything unfolds?
Yeah. I mean, right now I'm just enjoying the change of pace. I know when we're in the grind, all I want to do is just like relax. I just want to like chill out and like take a week or two and just like do nothing. So I'm trying to be more thankful of this time now than I need to get back in the pool right now, that kind of thing. I think maybe not 3 months, but time off is absolutely necessary, at least for me, mentally, to recharge your batteries. So I'm not really thinking about the year ahead or what's going to happen, because no one really knows. Yeah, we're just having fun doing new things, and hopefully going to get back in the water sometime here this week.
You said you've done some Zoom meetings, but you've also worked camps over the years. So what messages do you have or pieces of advice do you have for the young swimmers growing up in those camps that you participate in?
It probably depends on the ages of the people that I'm talking to, but I would say the advice that helped me is so different that now hearing this is so different than the advice that helped other people. It's really beneficial when someone asks me a question that they actually care about, and that I can give my advice on that question to them specifically, because, if I'm in a room with 100 people and I say some broad piece of advice, maybe like 3 are listening, and, maybe like 1 person actually like helps somewhat. But if someone asks a question, typically someone else in the room has that question. And if they're going to, have the courage enough to ask me about it, they care about it. So I don't have any broad overarching advice for everyone, but I love talking swimming. So I love answering these kind of questions. And I love one-on-one questions with people that are working on things. And the advice that helped me growing up changed all the time, because the thing that helped me at 12 was not the thing that helped me go under 130. It was, a lot shift to a mental aspect of swimming, and that was gradual over the years. It became less of a physical thing for me. I mean, when you get to Division I college, everyone works hard. that's not going to separate you very much at all in college. So a lot of mental advice helped in college, and it just depends on where you're at, what kind of person you are, your personality. So I don't have a good answer for that question.
So when you're doing Zoom meetings with some of your teammates or some of your best friends, like the guys that were on the relay that you were talking about, so do you stay connected with all those team, USA Swimming national team teammates, and what do you guys talk about on those Zoom calls?
Yeah, I mean, we stay connected. Some of my close friends, like Ryan, like I told you, Ryan Held. I called him the other day and just see what's up, see what he's doing. We like to play video games with each other, like I said earlier, and yeah, we just when we talk about. Usually, it's not about swimming; it's just about chilling out and what you're up to.
And that's pretty much the way that we all are at this point, just trying to stay connected during this time period. So as you get back in the water and you move forward with your swimming career, what's for you after swimming? Have you ever given that much thought?
I haven't. All I know is that I want to be connected to the swimming world in some aspect. I don't know what that means, but I don't know if that means coaching or doing some kind of, I don't know, some kind of programming or something like that. However, I want to be connected to the swimming world pretty seriously. So whatever that means, I don't know.
Well, the world's wide open for you, that's for sure. So a lot of our athletes here, I mean, we've got many athletes that are age group swimmers and up and coming. You talked a lot about being on the zone team or being on the quads, being in camps, the zone select camp. So today I tweeted out that 5 of our Indiana athletes were selected for the Central Zone Select Camp. Now, obviously, they're not going to get to go this time. Tell them, if anybody's listening that's on it, or come back and listen to you on YouTube later, what would the Central Zone Select Camp be like if they were going to attend?
It's at first, the first day, it's kind of intimidating and it's really annoying because the first practice, everyone kind of gets together and they're like, hey, so I'm tired. I don't want to push this practice too hard. Let's all just chill out. Let's just go easy on each other. Cause you never really train together. And so everyone's kind of trying to figure out who's the best trainer. And I know that's kind of intimidating, and everyone's talking just yeah, I'm just going to go, I'm going to go easy. It's just warm up. And then everyone jumps in and everyone is sprinting. They're just sprinting everything. And I'm like, I know that you don't train like this all the time, And then 2 days later, everyone's still sprinting and then they're dead. Then they just can't move and the practices are way too hard. And so I don't know, just have a good time. And I think it's important to make the connections and at these camps and stay up to date with your friends, and because you never know, you'll be on a team with them 5 years later, 10 years later, at a world championships or something like that.
But you talked about having different mentors, like say maybe a Matt Grievers. Who are some of the other mentors? You talked about Coach Kevin and maybe your parents, whatever the case may be. Who else has been your mentor in swimming?
No, a lot of Cody. I would say Cody Miller, definitely. The most that he taught me, I think, is just how much the attitude matters. I mean, your whole life is shaped by your attitude, and he's really helped me with that. I mean, in college, you can find every reason possible to just be negative and to be tired and to be in a bad mood and just to, I hate this set. I'm tired. I got to test whatever. This happened, whatever. But you're just hurting yourself. There's nothing as positive from you thinking these things or saying these things, and you're hurting your teammates. So that's one of the things that I had to learn throughout college. I wouldn't say that I'm naturally a super positive person, but it's something that you can improve on.
Very cool. Very well said. So attitude matters.
Yeah.
When you're in training, you're in a meet, and then with your teammates, have you ever had to help teammate over some tough times?
Yeah. I mean, it's tough. I mean, cause you don't really know what to say. That is still tough to me. What do you say to a person after they've had a terrible swim and they know it's a terrible swim and everyone else knows that it's terrible? And hey, nice job, you're just lying to them. Like, it's okay. Like, I don't know. I like to just not talk about it and kind of joke around, just have, make it a little more light. Like I said, it's just swimming, it's just a bad swim, not the end of the world. You're still alive, so I don't know. It's just someone's having a bad race or a bad meet, just kind of joke around with them.
That's good advice. I think that's swimmers rely on teammates for a lot of things. So when you are you're a professional swimmer now. We talked a little bit about the ISL. Professionally, as you go into this, do you see yourself swimming past the Olympic trials next year?
Oh yeah. I'm gonna swim regardless of what happens next year, even if there is a trials. I'm gonna swim for, as long as I can, until I'm tired of it or I'm not competitive, or I'm gonna swim for a while.
Well, this has been amazing. It's been a long time since I've had the chance to hear you talk about swimming like this. So this has been fun. We got a lot of athletes. Go ahead.
Yeah, I love talking about swimming. So anytime we can do this again, and it never gets old for me. I like talking about races and different meets and all that stuff.
Well, we did one thing last time with Lily, and I'm going to ask all of our swimmers to do this in unison. So I want you all to unmute your mics, unmute your cameras, and say at the same time, say, thank you, Blake.
Thank you, Blake. Thank you, Blake.
You're welcome. No problem.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Subscribe. Well,
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Blake. We'll hope to see you soon. Best of luck.
All right, thanks. Bye.
Blake.